Pru, welcome to Meet the Maker with Morris and Sons. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
So you are a knitting teacher and a designer based in Adelaide, and we've been really lucky to have you visit both our Melbourne and Sydney stores. We were hoping you could tell us a little bit about your experience as a knitter and your design process. So my first question for you is, how did you find knitting? What was your journey to the craft?
So I started knitting when I was 5, and thanks for having me on Meet the Maker, by the way. And it was one of those classic experiences I think a lot of knitters have, where it's a stormy evening, and you've got still a little bit of time to wait before dinner is ready. And I remember my neighbor teaching me how to do the basic sort of steps of knitting using just what was to hand, some yarn and some skewers from the kitchen drawer. And then it was really my grandma that took me to the next step. It was her big collection of English Women's Weekly magazines. She had a weekly subscription. So we would look through those each time we'd finished our Sunday lunch or what have you. And and so I'd be really curious about the stitch patterns and the garment construction and so forth. So that was my sort of my introduction, and it kind of became my curriculum for learning about knitting through my grandma.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you have any memories of what your favorite like early project was, or like what really kind of excited you when you were that
Yeah.
young?
Yeah, my first project was a ribbed jumper. I actually made it was in acrylic. It was horrible. These days I absolutely abhor acrylic, and I tend to I get to shop at some very nice yarn stores, including Morris and Sons. But yeah, so it was way too big. I didn't bother to swatch, of course not. I was about 13, I think, at the time. I didn't know about swatching. I just launched in, and it was way too big. So it became something for my dad. That's how big it was. But no, I really loved textured stitches. I loved lace early on, and then I, graduated to other things later.
Did you find that it was like the technical challenge that kind of kept you going? Because those are pretty technical things for a teenager, especially.
Yeah, I think it was the what if. Yeah, the excitement of what you could create. The fact you were creating fabric, because I've always sewn as well. I sew my own clothes, and I loved being able to create something. But with sewing, I think it's less forgiving, because once you've cut, that's it. If you've cut it wrong, you know that you're kind of stuck. Whereas with knitting, the fact you can unravel it and remake it is I think very empowering, because you can't really get it wrong. You just, unravel it and go again.
I think I had a similar experience with that empowering feeling, like taking a thread or yarn and then turning it into an actual swatch. There was just something magical about that. And I remember in my knitting class just feeling like, I did this. This is a real piece of fabric. This is amazing. It is like you can do anything after that point. It's very cool.
Yeah, exactly right. I think that's very exciting. And it really is a learner's art. There's always more things to learn. There's all these traditions to unlock, and different techniques, and or different approach to a technique that might make it more interesting, or more approachable. And yeah, I love that. And I love seeing that with my students as well, when they kind of realize there's this whole other kind of world open to them. I love that.
Do you find that your teaching informs your design work quite a bit because you have a really broad range? And I guess how do you come about your designs and when you're creating a new one?
Yeah, so I've always designed, but I didn't see it as that. I thought I was kind of creating one-off kind of garments and so forth. But in terms of publishing patterns and intentionally producing patterns, that's only a fairly recent thing for me. So I started teaching workshops 8, 9 years ago, and I realized sometime after that those learning designs, those notes that I was providing for my students were actually patterns, because I never used other people's patterns. I'd always come up with something specific for them to make in that class. And so that sort of began my designing for as a pattern designer. And then I've kind of done the reverse now. So now that I'm sort of a few years on, I will often get approached about designing a class for a particular technique, like brioche, for example. And then I've designed projects for the class, but then I've also designed patterns that kind of the next step for my students to apply their new skills to.
That's really cool. And you have some, I think one of the ones that stood out to me is your socks that have the detail on the heel.
Yeah.
They're like that's really special. I haven't seen that really anywhere else.
So they have the tulips on the toe and on the heel, and yeah, they were like thinking a bit like a innovative entrepreneurial approach, I guess, where you're sort of solving a problem. So my problem is I hate Colourwork socks because uh, and the minute you add another thread, you add tension, and so that means they're not as stretchy to put on. So I was thinking about how I could bring in my love of color work. I absolutely love color work in other garments and other places on the body, but I just hate them in the leg and the foot of the sock. So I thought, oh, I could add it to the toe and the heel as a little chart. And then as I'm creating it, I realized it actually is reinforcing those areas of that are of most wear, but also it means that this can be a toe up or cuff down sock because the charts solve that problem. But also there's endless possibilities. So I actually started with this one. This was the halftime sock. So halftime as in halftime oranges when you've got kids sport. But yeah, so the heel and toe have orange or, sort of citrus themed toe and heel. And then I sort of realized that I could play with it. So I've got quite a few other ideas coming for socks with this design. The only other benefit I will also say is there's no grafting, there's no Kitchener on the heel or toe. So that's also good.
Well, that's nice. So you can just see the whole thing grow as you're working on it.
That's right.
Very
Oh, there's
fun.
an yeah, and well, what I mean to say is people really hate Kitchener. In my experience, they often tell me they hate Kitchener. They hate grafting their toes and heels. So this doesn't do that. It's more like finishing off a beanie where you run the thread through the remaining stitches and pull it tight. So it's yeah, a lot easier.
When you're working on these patterns, do you have multiple ones on the go, or do you just like focus in on one at a time and like see it through to the end?
I'm always working on multiple things. I think part of it is that I have a voracious appetite for knitting. And I also recognize that having different things on the go works different muscles in your hands. It's quite healthy to be working on different things. Sometimes designs need to be kind of parked for a little bit. They need time to breathe. And so that's also why I have different designs going. I'm always working on multiple things. And ideally at the best, like most productive time of my designing, I've had one almost ready to go, one is being tested, one is being photographed, and the final sort of editing. So and they're sort of in different spots, and I've got them going like a bit of a production line. I'm not there at the moment. I think I've had a pretty busy time of things with my teaching, and so which is fabulous. That's what I love, but it's meant that my designing is a little go slow at the moment.
You travel quite a bit for your teaching. Do you have like a dream place that you would love to travel to hold workshops? Like, do you have like a wish list of where you'd like to go?
Yeah, I do. So, I mean, it's been my goal for some time to teach in New Zealand, and I got to teach recently, and that was fabulous. Such a lovely, warm, welcoming community over there. I had a great time. That was for Wool in the Bay. My goal is to teach at Barcelona Knits. I absolutely love Spain. I did Camino de Santiago in 2015 with my husband, and we had the best time. And I've got such a warm place in my heart for Spain. So I want to go back there. I'm on like a 500-day streak for Duolingo. Try to improve my Spanish skills. But yeah, I'd love to go back there. I've got British and Scottish heritage. I'd love to teach over there. Yeah, I'm not sure what festival or store per se, but I'd love to teach in the UK. And yeah, like I've been lucky. I've been able to teach in amazing places, including Morris and Sons in Sydney and Melbourne. And I've taught in the United States in a couple of yarn stores there. Really, everywhere I go, I've had the best time. Like just very, very warm, welcoming people, the knitting community. So yeah, I love that. I'm living the dream, really.
That's wonderful. It is like an instant connection, I feel like. You know you have something in common with whoever is sitting around the table. Whatever it may be, you've got knitting.
Right. And that thread that connects us is often one that is matrilineal as well. So we're talking about, family members or who may, mothers, grandmothers, aunties, and also across our communities. So we're connected through this making across our communities and across cultures. And I think that's a really powerful thing that, we can come together no matter our life experience or our level of knitting experience, and just our love of making and being creative and learning new things is very powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like time and skill and space it brings everything together really, really well, really
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah,
Do
for
you
sure.
have a favorite fiber that you like to work with?
I do love wool. Yeah, any kind of wool. I love playing with merino, and I quite like, but I've been playing with the New Zealand wool as well. But yeah, I love wool because it is sustainable. It's natural. It breathes. It has all these fantastic properties. It's antimicrobial, and you can dye it in so many beautiful colors. And the natural color is also pretty exciting. Like, I mean, that jumper is natural. That's the natural color of the yarn, the white and the grayish color. So yeah, I think that's pretty amazing. And the stories as well of the primary producers, I think it's really cool to connect with and support our Australian farmers who are producing this beautiful wool, as well as, others around the world. I don't just design with Australian wool. There's some fantastic businesses out there that are really promoting sustainable practices and are really trying to repatriate their supply chain and really support the people with the skills, the makers, the engineers and so forth that help turn wool into yarn.
It has quite an amazing range too. Like depending on the breed of the sheep, you can have really different qualities of
Yeah,
drape and bounce and stitch definition. Like it's
yeah.
incredibly versatile as like a single fiber. It's very, I mean, it means you have to gauge swatch. It's really
Yeah,
the
of course,
reality.
of course. And and I think some people find that frustrating because they're like, well, I'd like it to be kind of, a little bit more reliable. But that's why I love it. I think that there's so many possibilities. Like, so yeah, depending on the twist of the yarn, the way it performs when it's blocked is completely different. And especially with color work, like it can really sort of change the look and feel. Yeah, I think it's really exciting. And I love steeking, of course. You probably have clocked that about me, that I love turning people on to the opportunities that come when you can cut your knitting safely. Yeah, and wool has all those other benefits that supports knitters to be able to work in two or more colors and then cut their knitting. So yeah, that's another reason I love wool.
Yeah. Well, and that actually reminds me of another love of yours, which is color. Like you are really into playing with colors and combinations.
For sure.
Is that something that you've always had, or have you discovered that like through your color work and knitting?
Yeah, I've always loved color. I've always been maybe a bit of a out there kind of dresser. Like I think I was when I was about 12, I was wearing like a banana yellow shirt and like blue pedal pushers, stirrup pants. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't wear a lot of blue to be honest, but what I'm trying to say is I've always loved color. I've always tried different things as part of my self-expression, but yeah, I just love that the joy of wearing colorful textured things. And I suppose like my bread and jam jumper is a little bit like off-brand in some ways because it's so natural looking. But yeah, but it speaks to my values around sustainability and slow fashion and Australian production. So yeah, so it's still consistent if you kind of get to the nitty-gritty of who I am and what I'm about. I'm just like a little moth to the flame when it comes to when it comes to color. Yeah, especially green, jewel tones, really rich, beautiful, vibrant colors.
I think that the bread and jam jumper though is a very like excellent canvas for that kind of color play because you have those pops that you can add depending on which way you want to go. So that particular one is maybe more toned down, but there's a lot of potential there,
Oh,
which
for sure.
we've leaned into a little bit. So this might be a good segue into our virtual knit along.
Yeah.
So we've teamed up to have this multi-session kit built around the bread and jam jumper that allows people to like cast on with you and actually learn as they go and chat and have a bit of a community as they work on the jumper. Could you maybe share what you're expecting those sessions to be like and what people could expect with this particular project?
First of all, I'm really excited because I love this project. I think it has a lot to offer. This garment is really comfortable. I've already made another one as well. And I'm going to be casting on in these amazing colors. So my main color, so the gray of that is going to be this green instead. So this is so me. This is my color. Like I have a handbag, this color that I use every day. And then I'm a bit of a fan of a chartreuse. So this is actually going to be my CC2, so where the pink is. I've got the beanie here. So if you look up close, so this background color is going to be green. And then the chartreuse will be where the pink is. And then this beautiful light color. So this chartreuse is called limelight. This one's called Kelly Green. And this one is sprout. So sprout will be where the white is. So we need a bit of contrast between the main color and the contrast color one because they will form this really simple but effective kind of square pattern. And then there's a little hint of color in between, and that'll be in that color. So yeah, so the beanie is a wearable swatch, and I'm going to be casting on one of these to test the colors together, and I'll show people how that works. But yeah, so I'm really excited for it. And so the sessions are going to be 3 sessions. We'll have a little cast on party. I encourage people to do a swatch beforehand or do a wearable swatch like the beanie. And then we'll be getting started on the design itself. And then we'll have a checkpoint a month later where we'll be showing off what we've done, asking questions. I'm assuming by that point people would have completed the brioche collar. So one color brioche is kind of like a panel that you then fold and you pick up and knit around. So it's a completely seamless jumper, which I think is quite a popular design these days. And I think people would have probably finished the color work as well within that first month. So the questions will be around how do I place my stitches on hold for the sleeves and all that sort of stuff. And then we'll have some beautiful smooth sailing through the stockinette for the next month, and then we'll have a little cast off party, and then we'll talk about weaving in ends and tidying up the garment blocking, etc. in that final session. Though I'm sure there's going to be some eager beavers who have already done it all and are wearing their jumper to that final session, which is exciting too.
It's a really good one for someone who hasn't actually done a full jumper or even much color work in a
Yeah,
garment, isn't it? And
yeah.
that brioche color is what totally totally like won me over. I love that neckline. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I think the brioche and the Italian tubular cast on just creates this really lovely softness. And it's really comfortable to wear. It's really, I think it's quite elegant to wear. It just, and it's an interesting way to start a garment, I think, too. Starting with the collar and working your way down takes away the sewing in, etc. But it just creates a nice sort of frame for the face and it's cozy as well. I think if people haven't done brioche before, one color brioche is pretty easy. It's approachable. However, you could also use a single rib instead. It just will be a lot tighter. It will sit a lot higher up on the neck. And then the other alternative is to try a 2 color brioche. So you could play around with your colors. And because you don't use that much of the contrast colors. So you could play around and do a 2 color brioche on the collar, So there's that fun to play
Yeah.
as
Those
well.
are
And
some
also stash diving for other random bits and bobs, like with different textures, maybe for the color work too.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there's places you could add on the cuffs too if you wanted. There's quite a bit of potential customizing, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I love that idea. That could look really cool. I'd love that. Yeah, looking at it now, yeah, if you add some color work to the cuffs, I think just before the cuff, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, wonderful. It's not just teaching and design work you're doing, you also have a line of books. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the most popular one is the Yarnstall Passport. So, I came up with this idea drawing on the Eki stamp book that you use in Japan at train stations, and the Camino is called the Credencial for pilgrims. And I like the idea of like a low-tech kind of thing where you're going and you're collecting stickers and stamps and engaging with different yarn stores. And so, yeah, I created this book, and there is a familiar looking sticker in here, business card. So when stores don't have stickers and stamps, I get them to give me a business card and I stick it in. And there's space for you to record something about your experience. I've got their souvenirs, memories, and purchases. So souvenirs being like memories, or it can be something that you've bought, where in the world you've been, and a bingo sheet, a few bingo sheets. And then you can do these kind of like create these DIY yarn crawls. It's really popular. You can buy it on Amazon. And it's been a bit of fun. I also have one that's for learners, a learners learning journal, a planning book, there's a notebook, and there's a yarn archive, a yarn curator's archive to stick in your labels from your yarn balls, etc. So yeah.
That's wonderful. I feel like you have like you've got sort of your community book and then your like personal project. I'm a big fan of notebooks and stationery in general. So, but there is something about that physical interaction. It sort of slows you down. You don't have potential distractions. It's
Yes.
like I find apps and things I'll sort of get sidetracked. But I
Yeah.
love that idea of like designing your own walk through craft stores because that's
Yeah.
absolutely the thing I look up when I go traveling is like
Yeah.
where I need to visit.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's such a great travelogue over time and places through the lens of my passion for knitting and for all things wool. So,
How massive is your yarn stash? Do you have an extensive collection now?
so yes, it's a bit of a problem.
It sounds
Not
very familiar.
I think it's just a sign of how creative, like as in generative of stuff I am right now. And and the fact that I've just got so many exciting ideas that I want to execute and things are in different stages, but I'm also super busy. So I don't have time to tidy things, the last thing away before I've moved on to the other thing to play with. Yeah. So when maybe later this year when things get quieter, I'll have time to properly consolidate, organize, etc. But I'm kind of enjoying the craziness as well, if I'm really honest. Yeah,
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you buy yarn with a project in mind, or are you just like, this is beautiful? Let's go.
yeah, no, I'm all about this is beautiful. And so I have a lot of single skeins, like souvenir skeins from different events and things like that. And then I've tried to buy sweater quantities recently, or like, enough to make a jumper or a vest or what have you. But then that's also part of the reason that my stash has just kind of exploded. I don't think it's a problem actually. It's a part of being an artist is that you do need materials to hand when inspiration strikes. So having lots of options on hand is part of that creative process. Otherwise, it's interrupted and you have to start fresh or go looking for something. So yeah, I encourage people to collect yarn that speaks to them and the right project will come. And I think regularly curating your collection, changing the collection to accommodate, say, color or texture or fiber quality or what fiber it is. So I enjoy that process too. Every so often, just digging everything out and completely reorganizing everything. So it's a good idea to go through your yarn, check for damage, isolate anything that's looking a little shady. Yeah, I recommend doing that as well.
Absolutely. You don't need the heartache discovery that something is not usable anymore. So, as a prolific teacher, do you have any advice for new knitters or people who would like to take it up?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I'd start by saying, like, just have a go. It's really important to not judge yourself, to just throw yourself in there and have a go and realize that in order to be good at anything, you have to start somewhere. So I encourage people in my classes to have a go when they're learning new skills and remind themselves that they've been beginners in lots of different areas and they're experts in lots of different areas, but you don't become an expert without returning to being a beginner again. Yeah, I think it's an uncomfortable feeling sometimes when you're a beginner. You want to be that expert that you've seen online. You think I'll never be like that, but they all started somewhere too. So I'd encourage you to use what resources are available to you, but there is nothing like coming to a workshop and that collaborative kind of learning community space that you inhabit for that time together is really powerful because you don't just learn from the teacher, you learn from the questions of your classmates. It sparks new wonderings. It helps you to understand where you kind of sit as well and go, oh, I'm not that bad, or I'm actually quite good at what I'm doing, and really having aspirations as well of what you can continue to learn because I find the conversations are always really rich around what people are working on, or they wear something that shows some skills are applied into a garment. So yeah, I think workshops are really powerful, and that's why I love teaching because I love my students. I love the classroom's learning space and the community we create for that time. And I absolutely love it when I see them again return for another class. And they show me sometimes, they'll like one of my classes in Sydney, the student brought along a project that she'd worked on since I'd seen her 6 months earlier. And that was, I mean, that's what we all dream of as a teacher, that we encourage and embolden students to the point they feel confident to go ahead and apply what they've learned and are just so proud of what they've produced. So yeah, that was awesome.
That's wonderful. It is a bit of magic, I feel like. It's like passing on the addictive bug, but it's like a really good one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, it really helps someone.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been wonderful to learn about your practice. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Maddie. I've really appreciated chatting with you, and yeah, I look forward to casting on with you very soon for
Yeah.
the Wet and Jam jumper.